we're live.
That was fast. Yay.
Google is usually not that swift for us. Hi, everybody. Welcome to workshop number 7. They're not usually numbered, but I think I've been seeing the numbers. So this is 7.
7 already? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, this is Tarot Obscura. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen or watched or listened to the podcast No Such Thing as a Fish. And I don't think, Alie, do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No.
This is great. Keep going.
Kind of what we're doing. This is kind of like No Such Thing as a Fish, occult version.
Excellent. Excellent. Hyper-specific occult version.
And what that means is that we kind of just want to share some weird, obscure tarot facts and ideas that we've dug up from our books and the internet. And we're hoping that some of you maybe know what we're talking about, maybe don't know what we're talking about, and or just want to, throw in your own thoughts, because
weird shit's cool.
Yes, weird shit is cool, and a lot of what we are bringing up in this workshop is subject to interpretation. So let's interpret.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely. So I think we missed a teeny tiny part of our normal thing. Hi, I'm Alie.
Yeah.
And I'm here with the ever amazing Raven.
That's me. Hi.
So yay, thank you for joining us. And Raven, you were going to kick it off with one of the, I think, least favored cards of the major arcana. I don't know anybody who's like, woohoo, this card.
Really?
Yeah, whenever I watch videos, people are like, oh, I have such a block around this card. I can never connect to this. And I think it has a lot to do with enforced systems in childhood.
Okay. I will clue everyone in so that you're not all in the dark. We're about to start talking about the Hierophant. And yeah, I know, I've heard that too. I really like this card. But I only like it when the imagery is not so crazy religious.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that so many people are exposed to it when it is hyper-religious.
Oh, I just realized something.
Ooh.
Taking a moment. So I want to make sure that we are live. We're good. I'm just going to tell people in the chat to hit play if they haven't.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Oh, I just told them right now. Because apparently it doesn't automatically play when you go here.
But if they haven't hit play, how are they going to hear you tell them to play?
You're right. I got to type it right now.
This has been a comedy of errors kind of afternoon, frankly. There was a moment earlier when Raven and I were catching up that both of us had headphones in to try and be considerate to our housemates, and we had not realized that my voice was loud and clear through her entire living room, and her housemates were hearing everything we were talking about, and it was, yeah, awesome.
Yep, I had headphones in, thought I was hearing them through here. Nope.
Excellent. Okay, so for those of you just joining us now, thank you so much for coming in. We already did our intro, but we're going to start off with the Hierophant, which Raven is going to tell us about.
I am. And I gravitated. This was when we decided that we were going to talk about weird tarot obscure facts and such. This is the first thing that came to mind because I used to take art history in college, and I barely passed. And what I remember most, honestly, this is the only thing that I remember from art history, is that when you see this hand symbol in a painting, that goes back to the era of Roman art. And it was an indication that someone was talking in the painting. Because of course, we are in a world where there are no moving pictures. It's all static. So if you look closely, you can see that our friend, the Hierophant, is making that gesture with his left hand. That's his left.
I'm going to have to trust you. I'm trying to figure it out, and it's just like, is the camera flipped? I don't know if the camera's flipped.
Oh, wait. It is flipped. Okay, guys, that's his right hand, and that's important, and I'll tell you why. Anyway, so that hand gesture, if we're talking about the era of Roman art, sort of, I don't know. You know what? We're not going to rely on my art history knowledge for this
because you sucked at it. No, I'm sorry.
I wasn't that great at it. Anyway, this hand symbol became ubiquitous in Christian art from the Byzantine era through the medieval era and then to the Renaissance. And while when I originally saw this, I thought, oh, that just means talking. I decided to Google it just to check. Because again, not so great at art history. And I wanted to be sure I was telling you the right thing. It means I'm talking. Actually, it became very popular in pictures of Christ. And you know what? I probably should have warned you all earlier. There's going to be a lot of religious symbolism and iconography that we're talking about in this
But I think that's because of the history of tarot isn't the much touted by the Golden Dawn, Egyptian mysticism. It actually comes a lot from the Renaissance time when the church was like full swing Inquisition. It was like religion is crazy pants all up and everything. So the symbolism of the time has carried through. And so I think that's a lot of that is going to be translated into the weird facts about tarot. So, yeah.
So here's where it gets interesting. I mean, it would be one thing if the Hierophant was the only person in the entire deck who's making the symbol, which he is. It's extra interesting when you consider that what it came to mean in pictures of Christ in all of those very many paintings was not just, hey, I'm talking and this is a reference to a particular, this image is a reference to a particular part of scripture. It also meant I am giving a blessing. I am giving my benediction. So in Christian doctrine, the symbol is always given with the right hand. So we can maybe not assume, but surmise, I guess, that this is holding true to Christian doctrine, which is that the blessing is given with the right hand. And I think this adds a really interesting layer to the Hierophant.
It actually just reminded me, now I have a new association for the Hierophant because that finger gesture, Constantine is one of my favorite movies. I loved the comic books, but they're completely different. Like the movie with Keanu Reeves is obviously completely different. I still haven't seen the show. No spoilers. But there's a point where Papa Midnight, when they're about to go do the big fight at like the climactic fight, Papa Midnight goes to bless Constantine and he does a blowing on the hands gesture and then moves his hands into this position, both hands, this position. Over Constantine, and Constantine's just like, screw that, and like walks off. But Papa Midnight finishes the blessing without him there. I think that's kind of neat that it's got the, even though he wasn't there, it's like, yo, dude, you're still getting blessed. Deal with it.
We have some Constantine fans in the chat, just so you know.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good. And honestly, like that movie was my gateway to Keanu Reeves because I was so used to like Bill and Ted Keanu and was not interested whatsoever and was so resistant to movies like The Matrix. And, I guess that's the only thing I could think of with him in it. But as soon as I saw Constantine, it was just like, okay, hey, here's my new like iconography of magicians. Fabulous. So now Papa Midnight's a Hierophant in my head. We're just going to go with it.
That's really cool. That movie was my gateway to Tilda Swinton.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but thank goodness, because she is fabulous and a half.
Right?
Oh, Only Lovers Left Alive. That's all I have to say. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. Oh my gosh.
This was quite a tangent.
Okay. Anyway. Circling back.
To be honest, everyone is on this train, just so you know.
Good.
Yeah, so next time that you draw the Hierophant, think about the idea that maybe something is being communicated to you with speech, or maybe you're receiving a blessing of some kind, not just a teaching, not just an ideology or an idea or a belief is coming to you or should be considered by you, but what if someone is actually... A blessing is better than a lecture.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that was my interesting little fact about the Hierophant. This there's more on this if you're interested. There's more on everything that comes
Yeah.
up
Oh my God.
if you're
Goodness, there is.
interested.
Yeah. So that's a really lovely segue, actually, to one of my favorite tarot facts. And so, I mean, y'all have seen us have this card paraded around because it is death. It's our boo. But for a while, I was stalked by this symbol. This rose was showing up everywhere for me. So I ended up going on a research mission because, you know, when I'm stalked by symbols, it's not terribly common. Stalked by cards, fine, but a symbol chasing me around, like showing up in spray paint, showing up, you know, carved over doorways, which actually is really interesting and significant once we get into it.
Ooh.
So in this position, or in this card, it is the Tudor rose, which is the royal rose, and part of the crest. The Tudor rose is actually red, but it's shown in white here, which could possibly be a reference to the Lancasters. So this becomes a very politically charged kind of thing at first glance. And that was my first look at it. It's like, oh, is there a political commentary going on here? Because it's a very British symbol. And coming from Waite, who is very British, I was wondering if maybe there was a political commentary that's happening. There is not. This rose, or there might be, but it's really, really hidden. This rose also goes back to Roman artwork, but it was more of a joke, or at least I'm interpreting it as more of a joke. So at big Roman parties where everybody's getting totally wasted, there was a phrase like, I'm not going to say, I think it's sub vino, sub rosa. And this is where the idea of sub rosa comes from. When you're under the wine, like when you're drunk, everything is under the rose. And there would be a little rose included in the architecture in some way in the courtyards where they're having these huge parties. So it was this idea that, you know, when we're under the rose, it's fine, whatever happens. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in the Sabura stays in the Sabura. So it was this idea of keeping your lips shut about things that are happening. And that continued. This little 5-petaled rose carried on through history and became carved over the mantelpieces for confessional booths. So that the idea is that when there's a confession happening, so again, religious connotation, when there's a confession happening, it's a promise to keep a secret, that everything here is sub rosa, under the rose. Sub rosa has, as a term, continued to, like, even now, that it's used in black ops to refer to, like, military situations as being secret, sub rosa. But it has been used consistently throughout secret societies, such as the Rosicrucians, and like other.
What was that face? Wait, I don't know what the
Rose, Rosa.
Oh,
like,
got it.
Yeah, sorry, that was that face. I make stupid faces. Okay, look, you've known me how long.
Okay, yeah, got it.
It's a super, super, super symbol of secrecy, and like a promise, a pledge to keep that secret. So what I find super cool about how that's translated on the card is so that we've got this big flag over top of this groveling, you know, monarch, this groveling priest. So it's like death is accepting their secrets. And that's part of the change, is that you have to give up your secrets. You have to give up everything that you were holding on to really tight. And like death will keep that secret for you, but you have to give it to him.
What do you think about also, in order to that words? What about if also going through that change, going through that death initiates you into some kind of secret?
I think so too, because it's like, so when people think about, you know, near death experiences, that those are considered initiatory experiences in a lot of magical frameworks, and that I think we could go into a lot of like ethnogen use as being symbolic of near-death experiences and symbolic of that same initiatory experience. And there's so many different ways that I think the death of the old and like the rebirth or the birth of the new is symbolized in mystery, like I'm going to say cults, but like mystery groups. And yeah, so definitely. So I think secret keeping and like confession is a huge part of that. And like cleansing, a lot of the time cleansing, in at least, you know, the religion I was raised in, Catholicism, that you cannot be cleansed unless you give up your secrets. Like you need to confess your secrets to become clean again.
Love it.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
that's one of my favorite symbols. It always blew me away. And I finally figured out what the hell it meant, and I started using it. So, bam, that is my death card rose symbolism.
Nice, nice. I'm going to go back to my religious bent.
Yay!
This whole thing. And talk about, and I hope none of you have thoroughly investigated this already because you might be underwhelmed with my fact. I don't care. I learned a lot. I'm going to talk about it, and I want to talk about the yads. So just anyone, by the way, just we will check in really quick with the chat and see if anyone has any thoughts about the rose or the Hierophant. Let us know if you totally already knew this or if you've got something to add, because hey, we like to learn.
Yes.
We like learning things. In the meantime, I'll give a little background about the yad, which is, it's, what I'm saying is YOD, which is how you see it written when someone is talking about the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which looks like, here's a good example. It looks like that right there. It looks like a little squiggly leaf thing. That's the yad. And the pronunciation of it is actually ya. So it's the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it is the first letter in the word Yahweh, which anyone who's ever done any Bible study or is Jewish, I'm sorry, I'm probably making horrible assumptions here, knows that Yahweh is the name of God. The way I learned it, it translates to I am.
Yeah, that's how I learned it as well.
It is so cool to me. I love that. God's name is I am.
Wasn't it the burning bush that started yelling at people? I come from the one who is called I am. I think it was the burning bush when it was yelling. That's what it yelled. It might have been a different angel, but anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so when you take the yad, oh, by the way, it's associated with the hand. What did I write here? I could not remember. I know, I couldn't remember all of this. Okay, it has some association to the hand, and the 10th letter also being significant for changes. So there are all these little associations to the yad or yah, and oddly enough, it shows up in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 of the cards in the entire deck.
Are they all cards that have to do with change?
Well, that's up for debate, and we will talk about that. I want to just throw out, Marcella in the chat said, I think Yahweh is not really the name of God, but I forget the details. I can get details from a Jewish blogger I follow if y'all want. We would love that.
That would be so cool. Yeah, because I think there is an sort of injunction against speaking the name of God, and in the various Abrahamic religions, there have been ways to sort of go around that. I know that a lot of Jewish bloggers who I follow write the word God as G-D as a nod to that sort of injunction, and it's not like a you can't do this, but it's a if you do this, you've got to bury it, and there's like a whole special place to bury the name of God. Anyway. Learning things.
Yes. So, I'm not sure if it's in the pictorial key of the tarot or not, but tarot scholars and wonderful.
Checking my book. You talk, I look.
Okay. Who knows and whatnot feel that the presence of the yod in certain cards is a symbol of divine will, or perhaps divine blessing, or just the presence of the divine. Period. While you're looking that up, I'm gonna mention real quick, because I guess the chat doesn't save to these videos, so future viewers would be missing out. One of our lovely viewers, D. Lovelace, says, I kind of have some thoughts about the rose, like where instead of just being to signify giving up secrets, it could be something more like being necessary to release the things you've been holding back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Keeping you from moving forward.
Yeah. Yes.
Just vomit it all out. Just get everything out. So that you can go forward. All right, so back to our yods. Let me show you what it looks like. Here in the moon, we have a whole, see all of them coming down from the moon onto the scene here?
That is not mentioned in the pictorial key to the tarot, by the way. I just hit the moon, so.
Huh, interesting. Anyway, if you go through the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you'll see that there are some cards that very clearly have this and some that don't. I was skeptical when I first started reading, like, okay, yeah, she put these letters all over the deck. Maybe she just put squiggles. And then I looked and I was like, no, these are very clear. These are very clear letters.
Also, it was Pamela Coleman Smith. She purposefully changed a number of Waite's instructions because she was just like, no, my idea is better. So I think a lot of what happened there was very intentional.
Yeah. So here are the cards that have it. We'll go through really quickly. The Moon, the Tower, which the source that I read said it has 22, and I counted, there are 22, and they said that the Tower had the most yods out of any card, and that I found not to be true. So just keep that in the back of your head. Wheel of Fortune has it as the literal letter here, which is spelling out on this wheel, Yahweh. That literally spells out Yahweh in between the letters that spell out tarot. And then 3 out of the 4 aces have yods in them. And actually, I would kind of, focus. Okay, I would kind of argue that. So we have them here in the Ace of Swords, right there. We have them in the Ace of Cups, fallen down here. And then my source said they're in the Ace of Wands, but I'm looking really closely, and honestly, they look just like leaves. They don't look much like...
Yeah, no, it doesn't have the second tail.
Yeah, I mean, this clearly, I'm not mistaken these little yellow things for leaves.
Yeah, see, they've got
the
both
letters.
Yeah, those have both tails, and then the green dealies on the wands, those it's got one tail, not 2 tails. I'm calling them tails. I'm going with the serif as tails.
I think I've seen them described that way also. So I don't know. You could consider that the Ace of Wands also has them, or you could hate that like me and say no. In any case, you have 2 or 3 aces that have these. The one that is completely devoid is Ace of Pentacles. So that has to make you think, all right, divine will, divine blessing, divine presence is here in the intellectual, and it's here in the emotional, but it's completely devoid from the material. And it's debatable.
So whether it's there, the creative.
In here. But as far as the major arcana, all you've got are Wheel of Fortune, Tower, and the Moon. The Tower, I think, is one of the most striking. Surprising.
Striking the tower. Get it? Get it? I'm the worst. Anyway, I just did a quick flip through of the pictorial key of the tarot. I don't think he mentions the Hebrew letters once in here. Lots of Egypt, not a lot of Hebrew.
Okay, so then thank you, Miss
No
Smith.
worries.
And cool, everyone's on my side. That they look like, or your side too. They look like leaves.
We're all coming down on Leaf's side. Excellent. I'm actually.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Ooh, go ahead.
Oh no! I was gonna start a new topic. I thought we were done. Carry on. Go. No, go.
Just to wrap this up, I see, yes, divine presence in Wheel of Fortune. I see divine presence in the Tower also. Quite this much of it. I think that's a statement. That's kind of a do you see all of them? Do you see them?
I have a quick comment on the Tower that I don't remember where I read it. I couldn't find where I read it, and I wasn't 100% sure if my brain made it up. But at some point in my tarot path, I came across the idea that the two figures falling out of the Tower are the Hierophant and the Emperor.
I've heard that too.
Yeah,
maybe from you.
It might have been from me. I can't remember the source and I can't find it, so don't quote me on it. And it's definitely not in some of the older decks.
Yes. One last thing from the chat, and we have to move on because we've got more facts to talk about. But when you decide to start looking into this for yourselves, guys, Katsy brought up a great thing. I wonder if there's a numerology connection too. My source said 22 yads in the Tower. That is absolutely a numerology significant event. Let's see.
Isn't it the 10th letter as well? And for it to show up in the Wheel of Fortune? Is the Wheel of Fortune not number 10? Am I wrong? I might be wrong. I'm always wrong.
It is 10. It is 10.
Okay.
You're right.
Dang, go my brain.
There are 15. Oh, wait a minute. Is it that easy? No, it's not. The moon is 18 and there are 15 yads in the moon, but that's best left for someone who understands numerology at all, unlike me, who does not.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah. So there you go. That's that.
So I have like a whole section of my facts have to do with the Visconti Sforza decks, or deck, because I recently became incredibly obsessed with it. For those of you who may not know yet, the Visconti Sforza deck is considered one of the oldest tarot decks as tarot we understand it now. It was created in the 1400s for the Visconti Sforza family, so that was the ruling family of Milan. Although there are records that cards such as these already existed in the century prior. But, okay, so this is considered to be one of the oldest surviving decks, which is cool, but artists always have to render 3 of the cards on behalf of this deck because they are missing. None of the existing collections of these cards have these 3 have survived. They haven't made it. So it's not quite a complete deck. It's like mostly complete. And I think that the cards that are missing are hugely significant because first off, we've got the Devil. This is one of the recreations. This is the one that was done for the Golden Tarot. One of many decks called the Golden Tarot. So this is not of the original art, which, you know, had these very like beatific faces. We're going to talk about this one later, but not in this section. So it's actually quite, they're not significantly different, but they're pretty different. So we got the Devil, that one's missing. We also have a missing Tower. And then the next card that we have missing is the 3 of Swords.
That's so weird.
It's weird, but then let's think about the bad cards. What are the bad cards? We're hitting on these are all in the list of bad cards. It's not all of the bad cards because Death, I think, survived. But the fact that like the Devil, one of the scary cards, especially to be created during the Inquisition. I mean, the question becomes like, was it ever fully included? Because one of the other cards, actually, the one I held up before, got them in trouble with the Inquisition. Again, I'll talk about that later. So the Devil, that's like a big baddie for that time. The Tower, I would imagine would be a bit difficult to, like, was it even made is my question. And this is a big mystery. I have 0 answers here because the significance of like rulers falling down these cards were made as an anniversary gift to the Duke of Milan, who won his dukedom by marrying the previous duke's daughter after he was like this warlord dude who came in and like saved Milan. He was a mercenary. That's what this last name Sforza, which means strength. It was a chosen last name. Anyway, whole lot of stuff there. So I could see that maybe the artist would balk at making a card that represented, you know, such drastic change. Or that, you know, there's so many ways I could speculate how the owners through the ages would just be like, well, screw these cards. I do not want them in my deck. And then the other being the Three of Swords, which is, you know, not an awesome card if looked at in, you know, positives and negative kind of framework. So another thing about these cards is that the originals have little tack holes in them to show that they had been hung up. Like as art rather than played with necessarily, because these were considered to be great works of art at the time. So I could see that there would be a problem, at least with the devil, displaying this in a hall somewhere as like, look at our cool deck. That it would just be like, hey, look at our cool deck during the Inquisition. Check out our big devil on the wall. Great. Check out our big devil on the wall. And then, you know, like, even better, let's check out the card that depicts the, you know, fall of those in power. Awesome. So I have a lot of questions around why these three specifically are the ones missing. And I do feel like I'm putting on my conspiracy hat here. That it's just like, I think there was a reason why these were lost. It's not just, you know, how you lose things when you move. Like, shoot, I used to have this great sweater, where to go? I think there was a purposeful removal of these cards because they're so significant. If it was like, you know, the Six of Coins and Temperance were missing, there's not really any kind of like potential sinister conclusions I could draw from that, except people suck at shuffling, which I guess would happen across the ages, especially considering the size of these. But yeah, that is my fact, that one of the oldest considered complete, yet is actually incomplete tarot decks has pretty significant friends missing from the fold. That's another silly face. I can't do an eyebrow cock thing, so I just make my face go all weird. Anyway.
We have a question for you, and
Excellent.
that is, aren't the family members rumored to be people in the deck too?
Yes! Can I jump to my next fact, Raven? Because
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so totally, throughout the deck, you can see, like in the Lovers, it looks like the Duke and his wife, you know, are depicted in the card. They're so, like, in the Emperor and the Empress, it looks like the Duke and his wife. But one of the more significant ones, this was one of my other facts because it blows me away by how ridiculous it is the Papess. So the Papess is considered through most other decks, when she does appear as the Papess and not the High Priestess, to be Pope Joan, so Joan of Arc, which is fine in that symbolism. But in this deck, we know pretty for sure that this is actually Papess Manfreda, also known as Sister Manfreda, a cousin to the Visconti Sforzas, and the only historically, how do they make a pope? Anyway, she was a pope. She was the only real pope, the only real female pope, that by a Catholic sect that was disbanded during the Inquisition, she was declared a pope and got burned for it, like literally.
As we can almost expect.
Inquisition, sorry. So she's actually a cousin to the Visconti Sforzas, who the deck was made for. I'm guessing she was alive when the deck was made. She didn't get that long of a reign. The sect that she belonged to was the Guglielmites, named after Sister Guglielma, who was posthumously considered to be a pope by the sect, and that on her return, it was supposed to, like, bring in this great wave of female rulers of Mother Catholic Church. And so they kind of jumped the gun and were just like, hey, let's just get one started already. I mean, she's coming back anyway. She did not come back to a full house. If she did. Premature on Sister Manfreda. But I kind of love her. Like, it's ridiculous. in some ways, and pretty awful, but definitely known to be a family member of the Visconti Sforzas. So, good catch.
Awesome. Shall we talk about strength?
Yes.
Why did you have me pull out death? You have the Centennial.
You pulled out death. You said, do you need me to pull out death? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. And also, no, I don't.
Okay.
I have the original. You have the Centennial. I told you to pull out Centennial. You were like, I'll grab death for you.
Okay. It looks exactly the same from where I'm sitting. Anyway.
It is. It is. But strength is different.
Yes.
But
okay,
we'll start with your thing. Because I did two in a row.
Okay, this kind of blew my mind. A lot of people know that, focus on me, that strength was originally called fortitude. And if you go even deeper, fortitude was one of the cardinal virtues, along with, I see the knowing nod from Alie, so I'm not screwing this up, along with temperance, justice, and arguably judgment, which can be considered prudence. So there are these...
Yeah. Prudence was the
cardinal
traditional
virtues.
cardinal virtue, but yeah, it didn't make it to the deck. At least not this one. Anyway.
Right, so we have the renaming of fortitude into strength. But before we got there, there were two very different representations of strength, depending on which deck you were looking at. One was a person, not necessarily a woman, subduing a lion, so like we have here. And the other representation of strength was a woman holding or breaking a stone pillar.
Also worth noting that the subduing of the lion was not always quite so sweet as putting a wreath around its neck.
Holy cow, I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Also, another artist who has clearly never seen a lion before. That's a Gustave Doré joke. You will get it once we're ready to talk about that deck more.
Yeah, which by the way, we have a painting for every single card in the tarot.
Yes! It's so exciting. We're in the next phase.
Sorry for that, but we had to because we love it. All right, so back to the fact that strength used to look like two very different things. Over time, they slowly merged into one card. If you look at Tarocchi del Mantegna, it has both. It's around 1470. You've got a person subduing a lion and a stone pillar. So where I took this was, and I know, Alie, you'll be able to correct me, didn't Samson have a connection to both lions and stone pillars?
I cannot correct you on that. I can
You don't
see lion
know?
for sure. I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I do know for sure lion, yes. I would go with lion because the hair was a hugely symbolic thing. Lion's manes, it's a whole deal.
And he had the riddle. He proposed a riddle that no one could solve because it made no sense, but having to do with them out of... Oh, somebody help me. Come on, there are lots of you in the chat. Something out of something.
Honestly, I only really paid attention to Delilah's part of that whole story because Samson bored the snot out of me. It was just like, okay, another Hercules story, who cares? Another Odyssey story, who cares? Another blah 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 dude goes out and does stuff. Huzzah! But Delilah was interesting. She was the wrinkle in the whole thing. Anyway.
Yeah, it's... Oh, no, not Samson and the Pillar of Salt. Pillar of Salt is Alie.
That's Lot. That's Lot's wife. She looked back on Sodom and Gomorrah burning, and she was turned into a pillar of salt, which probably turned out better for her than living in a cave for 40 years with your other wives and your husband with literally nothing to do because everything is desolate around you. Gotta love.
Oh my God, Alie, we're bringing it back. Okay. Here's what I... Yes, the temple pillars. I know that. Samson brought down the temple by breaking the pillars. Big old pillars, like in the representation of this card that we don't have because no one uses it anymore. Sorry, something funny in the chat, which Apparently, it looks like I'm typing with my toes because no one sees me type, but then the messages come up. I'm not.
It's magic. It's magic.
It's magic. Okay, anyway, there is a riddle that Samson gives, something like, out of the victor something sweet. It's about honeys. It's about honeybees making their home in a lion's skull or something.
Cool.
The point is, I think this card might have a lot to do with Samson and his story. Being that we had the pillar and we had the lion, and then they kind of settled on a lady with a lion. Yeah, that's my...
So my strength thing to add on there, don't lose that card because we need it.
Okay.
So I have, the version I'm using tonight is the original Rider-Waite-Smith, and I'm not sure how well my focus is working because my camera's a jerk. You can see that there is no discernible wreath around the lion's neck, that the lady is holding the wreath about to put it on, which is cool. There's a lot of symbolism around that, you know, she's in the process of subduing the lion, that, you know, they're getting there. It's not quite a done deal. At least that's the stage it looks like to me, because there's no wreath around the neck. Or is there? Raven, darling, if you would do the honors.
Yes, if we go back in time to the Centennial version, you can see that the wreath goes around both of them?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to go around both of them. Her waist, and almost like a leash tied around her waist around the lion's neck.
Yeah, they are bound. And real quickly, that riddle, thank you, Colleen, is out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. And literary people, you're welcome to try and figure out what that has to do with the strength card.
But yeah, that actually, when I learned that, I took the whole wreath thing. Sorry, not the riddle. I just learned that right now. I haven't had time to do anything. When I first learned that the wreath was not around the lion's neck, and it was supposed to, I looked really, really close, and you can kind of see where it would be. And so that was legit a printing error. This is like an original continued down through editions printing error, or, you know, and so it's just like they didn't have the technology back then to make the green go in just a couple places or whatever it was, and it just didn't make it to the first printing, so it was carried on as not there, which is why the Centennial edition is so important to me. I remember when you got it, Raven, or when I came to see you, one of the first things I was like, is show me your Centennial. Is it there? And like, I checked to see if it was there, and I was like, yes, it's good. All right, we're cool.
Correct. Cool. Anything more about our friend's strength?
I don't have anything else about strength. I think it's lovely. We could probably talk about the lemnis, the eternity signal.
Lemniscate.
Lemniscate.
You were there. Lemniscate.
Lemniscape?
Mm-hmm. Lemniscape.
Lemniscape. Okay, so not lemon escape. Lemniscape. Right. It only appears over certain heads.
Yes.
So there's that. I think the magician is another one that has it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like not everybody gets to have that cute little halo.
Yep, and I want to show everyone my badass, which is hard to see straight on. But there we go. Maybe like that. You can see it.
I mean, this is exactly why I haven't done the tattoo video that I had requested a while ago, is because I can just imagine myself like flashing everybody, trying to contort into positions to show off tattoos. And it's like, no, I have no interest in doing that. I have no interest in that.
I'm sure people have interest in seeing it though. So,
darlings.
yeah.
So I'm doing a quick scan through, and I can't really find any more of our lemon escape friend.
Oh, Momster says 2 of Pentacles. Yeah, it's not on their head, but
it's using it for the balance. Yes, definitely. Yeah, there it is. I just got there. There we go. Excellent.
And if I'm not mistaken, the lemniscate, the infinity symbol, is originally a mathematical symbol. It started off as to be used in mathematical formulas. It didn't have any occult.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the opposite of 0, I think.
Which is pretty cool to see how it's been, adopted.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so that was my bit on strength. That was my jig on strength, my piggyback.
Yes.
I have more that I can go into about the Visconti tarot. Not specifically the Visconti tarot. Actually, this has to do with the Order of the Trumps. And I feel like this might be something that people know, but I still think is really cool, so I'm bringing it up. Deal with it. And this is another thing that goes back to Roman times. So I don't know if anybody's actually seen the show Rome. It's really amazing. Yep. There's a lot of sex and stuff in it, so definitely trigger warning, because I was a little bit surprised at like a detached phallus at one point. So anyway, it's a really great show. It's actually incredibly historically accurate so far as one can be in that time. 2 of the main characters are the only 2 plebs that real life Julius Caesar ever wrote about. So that's where they got their names for the characters. Anyway. And part of the deal is when Caesar returned from Gaul, he wanted to have a triumph. This is a big parade where it starts with the prisoners, and then it moves on to, the merchants of like the local merchants, and then it moves on to the religious hierarchy in town, and then it moves on to the kings and like the aristocracy. And so it has a hierarchical procession where the lowest start off as being paraded as prizes, and then, the merchants come through and are like, look, we're awesome, we're your local merchants, come support our businesses. And the priests are then honored, and then the aristocracy is honored, and the Senate is honored, and then finally the conquering hero, which Julius Caesar really saw himself as, even though technically Gaul wasn't conquered. There's like a whole thing. Anyway, point being, there's this old practice of this parade, which came back during the Renaissance. And this was a huge deal, that it was like this great party that was had that like showed these same class differentials, except it was done in like it was done to be fun and not necessarily to show off spoils of war and be proud of how dominant we are. It was mostly just like, here's a fun show. I'm pretty sure there is a duke somewhere who thought they were cool because he was into Roman classicism, and just brought it back as a party, and it went off. I know that Leonardo da Vinci designed one, which was really cool. I would love to see like a whole freaking parade float designed by Leonardo da Vinci. My point, I'm coming to it, I swear to God, is that the order the order of the trumps, the major arcana, can be looked at as the triumph parade processional, and that this parallel has been found in a lot of different places. So Petrarch was a writer who was really into like Neoplatonism, which is what a lot of tarot has been ascribed to. He had a whole book, poem thing, whatever they called it then, called Il Trionfi, that was about the processional. And the tarot game that started off this whole big thing, or is considered the granddaddy of our professions and our interests and our loves, was called Il Trionfi, the triumph. So I think that's so cool. It's like this, I find it astonishing that like places like the Golden Dawn and the Rosicrucians, who are trying to find all of these like super mystic, sources of all of this symbolism and where everything's coming from, they were stretching so hard to make it Egypt, because that was the thing they thought was cool at the time. It was the zombies of the time, right? When really, like, Rome is just as like interesting a period, but they just weren't down with vampires then, So it just they were looking in the wrong spot. They were barking up the wrong freaking tree for the same meaning and symbolism. So I mean, obviously, like the cards didn't come directly from Rome, like the as we consider classical Rome, but the symbolism has carried through, and like that meaning to people and the archetypes have carried through so consistently through history. It's so beautiful, and like, welcome to my mind blowingness. This is where my mind gets blown. Anyway, that was my big triumphs rant. I love y'all.
That is cool. I had no idea about that. I'm curious. Kathy says that's why I love the Tarot of Delphi or Delphi.
I've looked at that one. I haven't really gone into it. So, Kathy, if you want to expand on that, that'd be really cool. Because I've just sort of looked at the images and been like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know anything else about it.
Okay, there's also, do you have any more facts left, Alie?
Nope, that's all my facts. You've got some left, though.
Yeah, I've got 2 left, so I'm going to breeze through them since we're kind of running out of time and people are talking about cool stuff. Something about the order of the major arcana in the Cosmos Tarot, and Lovelace, you're going to have to be more specific because I have the Cosmos Tarot and Oracle with all the zodiac and the constellations. Is that the one you're talking about? While you answer, we're going to talk about very briefly Tarot of the Skull. So talk about barking up the wrong tree, or the unintended tree of tarot origin and symbolism. I was digging through some basically like Wikipedia's for tarot history and symbolism. And
symbology actually is correct. It's okay.
Is it? I always feel like it's wrong.
It's okay. You watch Boondock Saints and you listen to Willem Dafoe. It's all right. It's still technically correct.
And I stumbled on this thing called Tarot of the Skull. So, being that we are Death and Tarot, being that I grew up as a very morbid little child, I immediately was like, oh, I have to talk about this for the facts. Tarot of the Skull is so cool. It's actually way more complicated and convoluted and weird than I'm going to cover here in the next 3 minutes.
You do it. I believe in you.
Oh, I can't. It is so complicated. I would need to have that page up in front of me and be reading it to you verbatim, but I'll give you the gist. So it's very seated in numerology. So any of you numerology geeks out there, go Google Tarot of the Skull, look at Tarotpedia, and just have a field day. So there are 22 letters in the Etruscan, Egyptian, and Jewish alphabets. That's important. Oops,
I'm a pedant. It's okay. I'm very pedantic. Sorry.
There are also, if you were to, look at a human skull, there are 22 sutures in it. Sutures being places where the plates have joined and you can see all the little wigglies. There's 22 of those. So Tarot of the Skull is kind of like what you can call the study of how the human body is a microcosm that represents the macrocosm of the universe and what we understand. If you look at 22 letters in the alphabet, 22 sutures in the human skull, 32 bones in the skull, 32 letters elsewhere, 32 teeth, like the numbers end up mirroring each other in weird ways, especially if you start going down the rabbit hole and you stretch a little bit. I mean, someone has associated every single bone in the skull to a letter of the Hebrew alphabet to a trump. I mean, it's complicated, but it's also pretty cool. And it got me thinking, that, again, back to the religious stuff. God created man in his own image. We are modeled after the divine. These things that we have given symbolism to, are they really actually, can we see them reflected in our own bodies, in the composition of our own skulls? So
hard philosophy drop right there. Holy crap, Raven.
If you want to go down that road,
It's there.
Please do.
It's there.
It's there.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much more that I couldn't even understand, let alone touch on, but that Tarot of the Skull, pretty cool. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the Tower. So I don't know how many of you know that there were a lot of different names for the Tower. Among them, House of God, Tarot de Marseille. They called Tower the House of God. In a 1550 poem, the tower was called House of the Devil. The earliest known name for the tower was La Sagitta, which means the arrow. And we still see that here. I mean, in the lightning bolt being very shaped like an arrow.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. It actually used to be called also lightning. 17th century deck La Foudre called it lightning. And you, Alie, mentioned that it's also been called the Blasted Tree.
Yeah, I think it's I want to say the Green Tarot or like the Wildwood Tarot or one of those. I know it's a very heavily Wiccanized deck, but it's either the Blasted Oak or the Blasted Tree. I've only read about it.
Oak.
Blasted Oak, right. Yeah, so I think that's interesting too, especially with the symbolism around oak. Ooh, golly.
Yes, that's in the Wildwood Tarot.
Wildwood, okay. Cool.
Which is the only reason why I know it, because it's the... Yeah. So what's the big deal? What's the point? And I will tell you. If we think about people giving different names to the tower, especially among different decks, you think like, all right, so they gave it that name because that part of the card was most important to them. Oh, it was also called the Fire. The 1550 poem also called this card the Fire. So we have all these elements: the tower, the lightning, the fire, the arrow.
House of God with the crown falling off it.
Yep, and or House of the Devil, being that it is a place of chaos and destruction.
And the tower and the crown's falling off it.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
So if people are looking at this card under the filter of those different symbols, how does that change the meaning? If you pulled this card and it was called the arrow, you know, that would give you a completely different understanding of your situation than if it was called the fire. And then throw in there the divine presence indicated by 22 yods. I mean, I like this so much more now. Yeah. And we have a little bit of chatting going on. I think we're just talking about Tarot of Delphi, features paintings of ancient Greek and Roman times.
Yes. I do want that one.
Neoclassicism, folk art, music art, theater backgrounds here, I guess.
Okay, I totally have to read the chat later because this sounds amazing. I love this.
Yeah. Oh. And regarding the Cosmos Tarot and Oracle, that is the one that Lovelace was referring to. Light Gray Art Lab. Beautiful deck. I have like a 2-hour review of it if anyone's interested because I love it and I have a lot of problems with it. But, yeah, they switched Justice and Strength, and the Star, Moon, and Sun are in reverse order. What?
Oh.
Really?
The Justice and Strength switcheroo actually happened with the Golden Dawn. It was previously, like, the Justice was 8 and Strength was 11 prior to the Golden Dawn getting their hands on it. So, I mean, so far as the switch happening, switched it back. I personally love Strength as 8. I love Justice as 11. That's where I like it.
I did not realize, though, that Star, Moon, and Sun were in reverse. I have to go look at that.
And that's where we'll wrap this up, folks. Raven has to go look at her deck.
Yeah, dig through the 100 and so cards because it combined the Oracle and the Tarot.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That hurts my head. Oh,
sorry. I feel like it's more complete.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, Other people also connect more to strength is 8. You're not alone. I think I say that every workshop. You're not alone, Alie.
I know. I know I'm not alone. We're all in this together. I say that like it's a car going off a cliff or something, Thelma and Louise style. No, that's not what I mean.
Pretty close. There is one last thing that we have to tell you all, which is... Do you want to do it, Alie?
Okay. So, darlings, starlings, boodles, and doodles. Hey, don't laugh at me. I love saying that.
I know.
Ace of Cartomancy. We're still accepting enrollment. Raven and I worked so hard on this course. It is a course for tarot readers to not learn tarot, but to expand on how we read, how we're tarot readers. And it's my little baby. It's Raven's little baby too. If the person who ships us is here, this would be the moment to get weird because we birthed this course together. And it's still an enrollment. We extended enrollment because we set ourselves ridiculous deadlines, as those of us are wont to do, and then realized it was ridiculous and extended it. So up until August, Ace of Cartomancy will be open for enrollment. It's only $50, and that's 3 months of videos, Facebook chat. You get the Facebook like forever, but you're with your students, with your fellow students. We've got books. We've got our ebooks that we've written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten. But guys, I want to see you there. I think it would be lovely. Anyway, August. That's the deadline because that's when we start. That's when we kick it off. And yeah, Raven, back to you now that I've gotten weird.
Woohoo! I forgot that people shipped us.
Yeah, no, I remember that a lot. I'm just sort of like, that's odd to me, but okay. I mean, I ship Destiel and I ship Meg Steele. I pretty much ship everything Castiel, but you know, oh, and Denny. I have a lot of ships. Anyway, I understand shipping. People ship us. It's weird. Carry on.
If any of you have questions about the Ace of Cartomancy, check out our website, send us an email. We're happy to, should we or could we have the info in our emails? You should. You should. Did I do it? I don't know. So, yeah, there's a place on our website to sign up for Ace of Cartomancy info.
I think we actually actively tried not to include too much Ace of Cartomancy stuff in the workshop emails because we did promise once upon a time that we would keep it to be exclusively about the workshops.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
So we've made an effort not to promo all our stuff there. Like, I mean, you haven't seen Cartomancy Competency in there either, I don't think. And it's just, we wanted to keep that a safe space just to be like, we're not going to push stuff here. We'll wait until the end of our videos to do that.
Yeah, we'll make you all suffer now. I'm thinking you were going to have just a nice time learning about tarot. No, sorry. We have agendas. But they're really nice agendas.
They're really nice agendas.
Anyway, so if you have questions about that and you don't find the answers on our website, shoot us an email. We'll talk to you and answer your questions. I want to thank all of you for joining us and giving us help with the rhymes and the correct things around our facts that we threw together. We had a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you so much. All of you are darlings and starlings and boodles and doodles, all of them. There you go. Okay, deal with it.
I'm dealing with it. Love you guys. See you next month.